All right, welcome back to the Texas Daily. We have a special guest here with us tonight. Stephen Foster joins us now. He's a business consultant, leadership coach, and turns out a Harley enthusiast. But our viewers might remember him from our July 4th show earlier this year when we interviewed Stephen from the road when he was riding across the country, not just across the country, but around the perimeter of the country for a very special cause. It's all about a boot campaign that provides services to returning vets. So, Stephen, thank you for coming in person.
It's good to be back in the studio. The first time you and I talked, as you remember, I'd ridden through 300 miles of rain, soaking wet, and water jetting out of my boots. So it's good to be back home dry in Dallas.
All right. Well, first of all, you've given us some bumper stickers or cards here. So tell us about what is the boot campaign? What is that?
Well, the Boot Campaign is a really amazing organization. It was founded in Texas by 5 women, friends, who read a book called Lone Survivor. And it's the account of Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell in Operation Red Wing back in 2005. These women read this book, the story of Marcus's survival and the death of his 3 teammates on the SEAL team. That's right, www.bootcampaign.com. And 16 responders who came in to help them, all killed.
Wow.
So Marcus, when he left the service, dedicated his life to making sure their stories were told and that he could create some synergy between veterans, the military, and the American public. What's interesting is I read the same book. Wow. And that inspired me to do something on their behalf.
So the boot campaign is how old? How long has it been around?
For about 4 years now.
Okay.
And what is it exactly?
There's 5 areas of service.
It's the 5 areas of service. It's veteran housing, job assistance, veteran wellness, urgent assistance, and family support. And so there are 5 sort of different ways that you can plug in and help military families. But they create these great events, and one of the things that really drew them to me as someone who works in meetings and events is, well, how do you get people connected? What's the hook? Well, they went to the supplier of military boots and said, make us a pair of Marine boots, of Army boots, correct, of first responder boots, of Navy SEAL boots. So you can buy a pair of these boots.
And they're the most comfortable boots.
Very comfortable. I wore them on all 13,000 miles of my journey.
Wow.
And every Friday is boot day. So we literally say, get your boots on. Remember that saying, walk a while in someone's shoes?
Yes.
Well, just the physical act, and I experienced this, of lacing up a pair of boots, it's not like slipping into our comfortable shoes. There's some deliberate thought and time that goes into lacing those boots. So it gives you kind of time to reflect that somewhere in this country and in places out of this country, all over the world, in harm's way, someone's lacing up their boots for you.
So we want to get to this ride quickly. So you got the wild idea somehow to raise awareness and money by riding the perimeter of the United States.
I did. Well, as a biker, that was an ultimate biker bucket list. Ila knows that. She used to be a biker.
Oh, yeah.
So I always wanted to do this ride, and have talked about it for about 10 years.
Wow.
About 5 years ago, I was ready to go. And something came up, and then something came up. And I'm convinced now that the reason I didn't do the ride is I hadn't met the boot campaign, because the reality is, if I'd have done this ride, it'd have been a great story with my biker buddies.
Right.
And a year from now, who would have cared? Honestly, who would have cared? They probably would have said, shut up. We've heard the story.
Now, here's the map. Let's freeze that shot.
That's incredible.
Can we go back to that one before?
Where'd you start from?
Yeah.
Well, I left Dallas and departed from Houston. My brother lives there, because to ride the perimeter, I wanted to try to stay within 25 to 30 miles of the U.S. perimeter, because literally that's what I did, ride the perimeter of the country. Headed east, so some great cities, New Orleans and
Were you on the same Harley the whole time?
The entire time.
And it made it.
Yeah.
Was anybody following you, like with water or anything like that?
Support vehicle?
Yeah, I had a support vehicle from Houston to Mobile. My nephew David went with me, and then he had to go back to college. But no, I went by myself.
Oh my gosh.
And it was great. It was because I could stop and talk to veterans and meet military families and wives and sons and daughters.
Were you expected along the way?
I was. The boot campaign did a great job of support, and I can't credit them enough. They looked at the route and said, where do you want to be? Who do you want to talk to? So they were very helpful in setting up interviews with these guys, great guys and gals.
Did you make money riding? In other words, did people pledge donations?
They did, and they can still do that. I set up a fundraising page, which you can get to from the Boot Campaign website or my website, and people were hugely generous. And what was interesting is they would usually leave me a story. So they would pledge $20.
You said that at one point you were very discouraged, and then something happened. You met somebody that totally lifted you.
I did. I'm going to confess for the first time on air that about 3/4 of the way through the ride, I was pretty done. I was tired. There was some weather. And I thought the fundraising wasn't going great. And I thought, you know what, I've done what I can do. I'll go home. And had a chance to hear this story of Wade Christensen, a 23-year-old local boy from Billings, Montana. 82nd Airborne, served in Iraq, wounded pretty severely and came home, and he just couldn't re-engage in his life. And about a month prior, he had taken a struck in Main Street, and he'd killed himself. And his brother, who I had a chance to kind of run into quite by accident, was telling me this story, and had actually the article on the front page of the Billings Gazette. And I just said, you know, all I could say is, God, you know, God bless you, and we're thinking about your family, and walked out the door and went, you know what? Pick your head out of your butt and get your bike back and get your back on that ride and finish it, because that's what you're out here to do. You're out here to tell.
Well, it's a
This
great
ride
cause.
has to be a book.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the next segment. We're going to have him on to talk about that.
And also,
Stephen Foster.
Stephen Foster speaks a lot. I mean, this is
yes,
this is who he is.
But the website is the Boot Campaign, and we want to have you back when we've got more to talk about. Maybe
What's
the
your
next
website?
project.
It's foster-fathom.com.
Okay.
Okay.
And the campaign is thebootcampaign.com, and we will be right back. So stay here.
Okay.